we're going to be talking about how couples coaching helped us reconnect after becoming parents. I have talked a lot about my relationship on this channel throughout the years, from when my husband and I started dating till when we moved in together to getting married. And now that we are parents, we've been parents for 2 years, I want to talk about how our relationship has changed after becoming parents and how we got help from a couples coach to reconnect and help navigate through that change in our lives. So I think it's pretty obvious that becoming parents is one of the biggest life changes that a couple can go through. I mean, you're bringing a little human into this world that is completely reliant on you, and that takes a lot of time and care. It's a very rewarding work, but it's also very hard, very stressful, a lot of sleepless nights. And when you give everything to your little baby because they need it and you're happy to give it to them, you are depleting the amount of affection, love, patience, care, and attention that you give to your partner. It's just kind of inevitable. I think one of the things my husband and I struggled with was that after we came home from the hospital with our baby, he only had a week with us before he had to go to work. And I was dealing with a lot postpartum. I had the baby blues. I had a C-section, and I had my mom here for like a month helping out, but it was still very hard. It was a very hard transition. My husband was working long hours. Like, he would leave in the morning and wouldn't come back until like 7 o'clock. And that was like the pattern for, I would say, like over a year, if not more. I mean, like I said, we've been parents for 2 years and 2 months now. And I feel like that really drove a wedge in between us, because I felt like he didn't understand completely where I was coming from when I would say, I'm just like tired. Like, I'm just tired, you know? I would have all the patience in the world for my baby and not that much for my husband. Unfortunately, we weren't really connecting or communicating. We were getting into a lot of fights and into a lot of misunderstandings. And that's just, you know, unfortunately the nature of what happened to us. I feel like there was a lot of expectations on both sides that weren't being met. There was a lot of conversations that we weren't having. I think that me transitioning from like working to being a stay-at-home mom, even though that was something that we knew it was what we were going to do, I feel like the deep conversation that needed to happen didn't happen, because honestly, like, I'd never been a stay-at-home mom before, so I really didn't know how that would completely change me or how that would affect me. So we were on this constant roller coaster ride of emotions. Of course, we were having like our good times as being parents. We were enjoying our child. We were enjoying each other whenever that was possible. We hadn't gone on a date we went on our first date recently, like a couple of months ago. So after our baby was born, it was like literally almost 2 years before we went on an actual date. And that is thank you to couples coaching. Which, by the way, this video is in collaboration with a couples coach from 10 Tasks, which I am going to talk about more later on in the video and explain how she helped us through this amazing, difficult transition in our lives. Like, our communication was severely lacking. I didn't know how to communicate what I wanted without being passive aggressive or holding everything in until it just exploded. And I wasn't really taking care of myself, pouring into myself so then I can pour into my husband as well, because I was just pouring onto my child every day, morning to night. And not to say like my husband wasn't helping, it was just like not enough. I feel like it was just me and him, and it still is just me and him. When we went on our first date, that's the first time we ever left our baby with someone, so he is with us always. We don't really have that community of, like, you know, when they say community is important, but we both just felt like an immense amount of pressure and things were just not clicking. Maybe more for me than for him, and I don't want to speak for him because he's not here. Ideally, I wanted to do this video with both of us, but it just didn't work out that way. But I want to get into 10 Tasks, the coaching program that we did. Our coach was Felicia, who is the the owner and the person who created this wonderful coaching program for couples. I'm gonna link the program that we did and more information about her in the description below so you can check out her website. I'm also going to share a discount code that you can use if you want to sign up for any of the programs. So the program that we did was called the 10 Technique, and it is a 12-week program that is based on evidence and consists of 12 weeks. Did I say that already? We met with our coach once a week live during a Zoom call, and then in between we did have an online course that we did. So it would be a small video, like 5-10 minute video, and then an exercise that we had to do before meeting with our coach. But it was very flexible. What I loved about our coach was that if we had questions about the exercise or we struggled doing the exercise, we can work on that when we met with her, or if we were having an issue that we wanted to tackle, we could work on that. She was really focused on helping us and what it was that we needed in that moment, because she wanted us to get as much out of our live session with her as possible. So what I love about the 10 Technique is that it put everything that we were struggling, like it named, we were able to name everything that we were struggling with. Like I haven't mentioned the mental load yet, but that is definitely something that I was struggling with. And with our couples coaching, we were able to tackle that conversation and laid out like how overwhelming the mental load is, especially on mothers, especially on the main caretaker, right? The person that is staying home, or the person who is doing most of the work at home, booking the appointments, like all that stuff. So the evidence is, the stat is that about 70% of couples experience a drop in relationship satisfaction post becoming parent, just because of all those things that I mentioned before. Like we no longer prioritize each other or ourselves, we are prioritizing our child, and there is still like work demands from the person who's still working, or if both parents are working, and there's a lot of demand and invisible labor that happens for the person who is staying home. And what I loved about our time with our coach was that I was able to feel comfortable in saying things that I probably have been wanting to say for a while, but didn't want to fight or argue about, because you know, sometimes certain things that you want to talk about can seem like an attack on the other person. And so what is very helpful is having a third party available that can help you navigate through that conversation, and both partners can see it from the other person's perspective. When you allow someone to kind of walk you through that conversation, we did have moments where we both cried. We had self-realization moments where we realized that we weren't showing up for each other. I wasn't showing up for my husband the way he wanted me to show up for him. He wasn't showing up for me the way I wanted him to show up for me. We were ignoring our love languages essentially. And one of the greatest things that Alicia focuses on is on creating systems that you can replicate outside of couples coaching, that you will take with you after you're done with the program. You can look back at your notes or just remember the learnings and the systems that you created. And one of the things that we did when it came to the mental load for my husband and I was, this is just a small example, but it's closing the kitchen at night. I felt like I was just doing more and more of that than my husband was. So we created a system where he does it 3 days out of the week and I do it 4 days out of the week. I wish the week was 8 days so we could have 4 days and 4 days each, but the week is 7 days. And sometimes we do step in when one of us needs it. I'm having a bad day, my husband's gonna step in for me. He's having a bad day and I'm gonna step in for him. But when we know, okay, today's Monday, it's my responsibility to close the kitchen, clean it, do the dishes, all the things, then there is no guessing. That was my issue before, like having having this conversation and setting up the system was that in my brain was always like, is my husband gonna do it? Is my husband gonna do it today? Do I have to do it again today? I'm tired, I don't want to do it. So I'm having this complete conversation with myself. It puts me in a bad mood. I'm not communicating with my husband. I am doing things, in Spanish you would say de mala gana, and it has made it so much easier since we established this system that works for us. And like I said, it's flexible. We can change it if we need to, but that's just a small example of how Felicia helps you set up these systems in order to successfully navigate your relationship post becoming parents. I cannot tell you how many times I have said, or my husband has said to me, we're both like so grateful that we had the opportunity to work with Felicia and have these 12 weeks with her and really talk and bring to the surface all of these topics that we might have not gotten to otherwise, or we were able to bring them up and have a productive conversation versus just another fight. Like, I cannot tell you how valuable that is. Also, as parents that obviously take care of our child 100% of the time with no help, I loved how flexible Felicia was. We had our Zoom call like once a week, and our son was around and he would interrupt our meetings, our dialogue, our conversations here and there. And you know, she was so patient. She understood that we have a 1-year-old and that was just going to be part of our time together. So I would say the things that we walked away with post couples coaching was better intimacy, better communication, better systems for our mental load, my husband and mine. And we, you know, we still have disagreements. I mean, that is just a normal part of being in a relationship, but our fighting has gotten so much better. We understand how when we need space and when we don't. We understand how to approach a disagreement without pointing fingers and doing some self-reflection on what was my contribution, how could I have responded better, what could I done better, how can I be better for my partner. And when they're doing the same and thinking the same way, then we're coming to the table and having a much more productive conversation and resolution to whatever the disagreement was. And that's just been like such a game changer, and I'm like truly can cry. And like I said, we still have disagreements, but it's just been so much better. It has been so much better since we done our couples coaching with the way that we communicate. And like I said, we're super grateful for Felicia. I'm so grateful that I met her and we were able to get into this program, and I will link the program in the description below. There's also a discount code that you can use, so if you decide to sign up for any of the programs, you can save some money there. You can also book a discovery call with Felicia, get more information. So that's gonna be it for today's video. Please let me know if you have any more questions when it comes to couples coaching, or if you want me to go more in depth in any of the topics that I sort of just talked about briefly today. Let me know in the comments. Always happy to hear from you. I also want to once again thank Felicia and 10 Tasks for partnering with me on this video. And like I said, all the information is going to be in the description below. I love you guys. Stay safe, and I will see you in another video.